Okay, Mr. Sonnenberg here. This screencast is for Science 8 students, and we're talking today about cell specialization and organization. So again, we're still studying the unit Cells and Cell Systems. General Outcome 2, we're investigating and describing the role of cells within living things. And this screencast specifically is talking about specific outcome 2.4. We're examining plant and animal structures and identifying contributing roles of cells, tissues, and organs. Now, we've talked a little bit about the levels of organization and such within living organisms and plant and animal structures. So this is just building off of that, and we're looking a little more in depth at the roles of cells, what types of cells we possess, also the roles of tissues and what we possess as well. And then in further sections of this unit, we'll actually be looking at more of the organ systems and how living organisms, or especially the human body, how we function and what our organ systems look like. So we have these specialized cells within our body. So there's different cells, and each have different structures and functions. And we've talked about structures and functions earlier. So again, like I've said, we're building on that. So the 5 types of cells that we're going to find in our body are muscle cells, skin cells, nerve cells, blood cells, and bone cells. We'll talk a little bit about each here. So the muscle cells, their shape or their structure, they're elongated and they're tapered on either end. These are the cells that actually help us to move parts of the body, these muscle cells. So if you take a look at the diagram over here, this stuff's not super important for you to understand, but if you take a look here, you can understand the different components. So you can see that the muscle cells bundles, okay, within the cell. So what one individual muscle cell looks like, so elongated and tapered at either end, okay. So those are muscle cells. Helps to move parts of the body. Second is skin cells. These are flat and thin. They're brick-shaped or honeycomb. These fit closely together, and this is their function. They fit closely together to form continuous protective layers. Okay, so if you take a look at your skin, you can kind of see some of the lines or the shapes in it. Or if you've ever done the fingerprint on ink and put it on paper, you can actually see this shape in your hand. Okay, so you take a little closer look though, and they're almost like a brick shape or a honeycomb shape. Okay, so and these are the outer layer of these cells form into our tissues eventually that are going to be the protective outer layer of our body. Nerve cells. Now I really like nerve cells, especially for high school biology, because what we talk about are in these nerve cells are the neurons. Okay, so long branched fibers running from the main part of the cell. So the function of this is to carry out nerve signals from one part of the body to another. So how do we react? Okay, how do we touch something that's warm, we react. How do we send a signal to move? Okay, our body. What's the process? Well, these nerve cells and these neurons, okay, they actually send a signal down. Well, you can see the nucleus in the cell, and they actually send information, and it just hops from each of these nodes, okay, and then through the synapse where it is actually passed on to another. So if you take a look here, you can actually see a lot of these nerve cells, and they're connected, and they're actually passing messages on and nerve signals, and this is how these nerve signals actually transfer through the body. The fourth is blood cells. So these are thin disc-like structures, okay, in shape. Basically what their role is, they carry oxygen in the bloodstream. So they're shaped like this because they have a larger surface area to collect the oxygen. Okay, so you take a look, we have a red blood cell, we have platelets, so we're looking at different components of the blood, white blood cells, okay, in the artery. So if you were to look at your wrist, you might see some blue colored, what we call veins. Now those carry blood, but they lack oxygen. So what happens is when we breathe, our main role is to exhale carbon dioxide, but when we breathe, we inhale, we actually take in oxygen, and the oxygen actually ends up in our blood, which gives it that red color. But blood without the presence of oxygen is actually in our veins, which is blue, and it still circulates through our body. So the blood from our heart, or blood pumps from the heart, is red to our extremities, and then once our muscles use that blood, it actually, or whatever part of the body needs it, it actually comes and it circulates back through as deoxygenated blood. But the role of these blood cells is to collect and carry oxygen in the bloodstream because we need to take that oxygen. So red blood containing oxygen, and the blue, the veins, actually is lacking oxygen, so that's why it's blue in color. Bone cells. The structure of bone cells, well, they're a thick mineral matrix. Okay, so you take a look here. This is what a bone cell would look like, again, right here as well. Okay, and basically bones are to provide support. So our bones are rigid, they're strong. We have some very large bones in our body, but we can also break bones, right? But these bone cells are the basic unit of the structure of our bones. Okay, so we are multicellular, us humans, and what are some advantages to being multicellular? Is it size? Is it versatility? Well, there's a lot of things that multicellular organisms can do. So that means we have many cells and they function together, and they have specific structures that help us survive. So, and remember, our cells actually, as we're going to talk about, actually cells make up our tissues, and then we'll see that level of organization, but right now we're talking about cells. So multicellular organisms can live in a wide variety of environments because of all the different cells we're capable of adapting. They can grow very large. They obtain the energy from a wide variety of foods. They have complex bodies and specialized functions and work in harmony with other cells. So like I said, we are actually multicellular organisms. Multicellular organisms. So again, we're talking this level of organization. And what does he mean when he says level of organization and structure? Well, like I said, we've talked about this already, and then there's four main levels of this organization and structure. One being the basic unit, which is the cells. So cells with the same structure and function form tissues. Then we have these tissues. So once these cells form these tissues, then the tissues actually work together, and a series or two or more tissues can actually form organs. Now we get these organs that are developed. Well, the organs work together in what we call organ systems. So organs can be things like your tongue, your heart, your lungs, okay? And we have different types of tissues, which we'll talk about, okay, as well coming up, and we'll get specific, and we'll talk about four main types of tissues we have. But then we have the fourth, we have these systems, and the systems work together to form an organism. So what are some systems we have? Well, we have a reproductive system, we have a respiratory system, we have a digestive system, just to name a few. And again, as you go through your science education, you're actually going to see these things, especially in high school. You're going to look more specifically at, and also in this unit, but you're going to look here in grade 8, but you're also going to look farther down the road. You're going to see that this stuff comes up in biology in the high school level. So tissues. So tissues are groups of similar cells that work together. So they have similar structure and function. Okay. So what are structures and functions? Okay. Well, how do they obtain energy? Okay. That's a type of function and structure. Okay. So the four types of tissues that we're going to see are connective tissues, muscle tissues, nervous tissues, and epithelial tissues. So muscle tissues actually move the part of the body. So just like the muscle cells, we said it helps to move the parts of the body. Well, these muscle cells form into muscle tissue. Okay, and you take a look at the picture there, you can actually see kind of what a muscle tissue would look like. Nerve tissues are actually the tissues that carry those signals from the brain to the other parts of the body to coordinate activities. So I want to move my arm. Well, a signal has to be carried there to move it. Oh, perfect. My nerve tissues have helped to send that signal, and again, now my muscle tissues help me to move my body. But how did that signal get there? And again, we have that cell body, these neurons that are actually connective, and those nerve cells, those neurons are actually connected, and they're passing on messages along the way. They're like an information transfer system. Okay. So the epithelial tissue, this is kind of your skin. So the skin protects the outside of the body and also covers internal structures, such as the intestine. So this is like that protective skin. Okay. So this could be the skin outside, or that covers internal structures. But that's what the epithelial tissue is it's that protective layer. And you can see a couple images here that are illustrating what it might look like in terms of if it was magnified through a microscope. And then the last is connective tissue. So the bones, they connect and supports different parts of the body. They may be solid like a bone tissue, or fluid like blood. Blood transports substances throughout the body. Other connective tissues forms loose fibrous sheets between body parts. So these different types of connective tissues, so compact bone, blood. Okay, how are we supporting different parts of the body, and how are we transporting? So how are we connecting different parts of the body? Okay, and how do these tissues work? So that's connective tissues. So if we want to look farther down this level of organization, and we take a look at, we've looked at cells, we've looked at cells forming tissues, and now tissues actually are going to form, we take several of these tissues and they're actually going to form organs. So, and these tissues all are kind of working together to form that organ. So they're distinct structures in the body that perform particular functions. So plants always also have these cells, these tissues, these organs and organ systems. So we sometimes associate this just with animals and humans and multicellular organisms such as ourselves, but these plants actually are very similar. Okay, so they have organs, they have roots, they have stems, they have leaves. Okay, if we take a look at examples of organs that maybe we have, well, we have a stomach, we have a heart, liver, kidneys, brain, and there's just many others that we have in our body. And we'll actually be talking about some of these organs connected to organ systems in the later parts of the unit. Systems. Organs work together to perform activities that help organisms function as a whole. So now we're taking these organs and how are they carrying out a function as a whole? What are they connected? So if I take a look at my heart, then I'm going to actually connect it to the circulatory system, and it is what is going to pump blood throughout the different parts and extremities of my body, and then the blood's actually going to circulate, hence the word circulatory system, back to my heart and then to my lungs, where I'm going to take in oxygen after I've released the carbon dioxide, because I want to make sure that I keep my pH levels at a homeostatic level, and I make sure the pH doesn't get too high. So what I need to do is release that carbon dioxide, and I take in the oxygen, and it actually adds oxygen, and now I have oxygenated blood, which can be sent through my arteries back to the extremities, and it just keeps circulating this blood throughout my body, which that is just one example of an organ system and how it works. So we're taking that organ and it's working together with other parts to perform a function. And this is how we function as humans, as people, is that our bodies function with these different organ systems, and these organs working together with other parts. And like I said, they're carrying out a specific function for our survival. So plants typically have two systems. They have a root system and a shoot. Root system and shoot. Stems and leaves system. So a reproductive system, flowers, fruits, and seeds, is often produced at certain times as well. So now we're talking plants, and remember, they have these systems as well. So we take a look. I apologize, this picture didn't come out as clear as I'd like. But we take a look, we have an endocrine system, the lymphatic system, digestive, respiratory, urinary, reproductive, skeletal, muscular, nervous, okay, uh, circulatory system. Okay, we have all these different systems, and they make up us as a human. Okay, and remember, like I said, we're multicellular organisms. So if you want to take a look, there's some sources and resources. EdQuest is a good one. That's where I take a lot of some simplified versions of teaching from. And also YouTube. I've put a link to some videos I find that are very good. Again, you can look at my YouTube page under my playlist. You can upload or take information down from Twitter if you join or add my Twitter handle at Sonnenberg Science without the CE. But you can actually get some updates, direct video links for these screencasts, and other video links to lessons. Very valuable. And again, this method allows you to play, pause, and rewind. And I hope you take advantage of it. So I hope this helped you to learn a little bit about cells and levels of organization and the specialized systems within our body. And I really think you should take a look at this video right here just to help you better understand the material I taught, just as some reinforcement. Okay, hope this helped out, and I'll have this uploaded for you right away.